Hello, my friend. How's it going? So this is the Zyner Market Update. Today is Wednesday, January 8th, 2025. So let's start by taking a look at Bitcoin price action. Bitcoin was last trading around $93,980 a coin. The network hash rate was hovering around the 806 range, and hash prices themselves were right around $55. So yeah, Bitcoin has definitely not been doing so well lately. That being said, I do anticipate that we are going to see Bitcoin start to gather some steam in the not too distant future, simply because a lot of the macroeconomic factors that I think, are likely to propel Bitcoin forward are still intact. I'm not going to go through all of them right now, but perhaps one of the most important being, hey, will the U.S. Federal Reserve continue to potentially, lower interest rates, which of course is a, huge catalyst, not just for the stock market, but I do arguably think for Bitcoin as well. Maybe a little bit of a minority opinion at this juncture, but I think they are going to. I think despite a lot of the tough talk about being hawkish and wanting to sort of be a little bit more conservative, I suspect they're going to continue to drop rates and will probably continue to do so in a way that belies some of their hawkish tone, if that makes sense. Okay, with all of that said, let's take a look at the leaderboard. Let's look at our top three medalists for today. Now, these are all sideways medals because no company in the publicly traded Bitcoin mining ecosystem that we follow finished in positive territory. So at the very top of the sort of like upside down list is Hive. They're closing at about $3.12 a share today, followed by Core Scientific, which generally has been on a bit of a tear. Congratulations to you Core Scientific shareholders who, stayed the course, held on. You're starting to see your ship come in to an extent. So congratulations on that. Core closing at about $14.05. And rounding out the list, Riot. $12 and around 2 cents a share. I always like mentioning Riot owns about 20% of Bitfarms. And speaking of Bitfarms, Bitfarms was a bit just off the metal podium, closing at $1.62 a share. And of course, Stronghold Digital Mining, which continues to trade as an independent, publicly traded company, at least for a little while longer, closed at $3.88 a share. The rock bottom contender of sorts, right, on the list was TerraWolf, closing at $5.51 a share. It wasn't that long ago that they were really surging. And I don't know, there's a part of me that likes TerraWolf. Part of their operations are here in Pennsylvania. They have, I guess, for lack of a better way to describe it, sort of like a co-hosting facility right up at the, I think, is it the Nautilus data center up by the, I think, Berwick nuclear power plant. Correct me in the comments if I'm getting some of these names wrong, but that's just based on recollection. They've got some operations here, and that's kind of exciting. So, I wanted to zoom in a little bit more on the financial update that Bitfarms provided for December. And I'm doing this because I had somebody reach out to me and ask in so many words, hey, are you concerned about Bitfarms being at risk of bankruptcy? Now, this is somebody who, is a Stronghold shareholder, and I think the mentality that many of us have, right, is, gosh, Stronghold is sort of like skating on thin ice, or at least that could be the perception. Isn't it lovely when you hear beeps and toots and hollers from your phone and you have to reach off screen to correct it? Anyway, all that being said, yeah, I think the perspective that, hey, is Bitfarms sort of in the same boat Stronghold was sort of in, I understand where that comes from, but let me just highlight a couple of different things from the December 2024 financial update. Specifically, total liquidity, this is Bitfarms now, of $147 million, including approximately $60 million in cash at December 31st, 2024. That, from my perspective, is not evidence of a company that's on the precipice of any sort of bankruptcy event or anything like that. The company happened to have sold 147 of the 211 Bitcoin that they earned as part of basically the company's regular treasury management strategy. And they generated just under $15 million by doing so. That to me is like a really big deal. And I think to the extent there's any lingering doubt, in December, Bitfarms added about 64 Bitcoin to the treasury that they have, the Bitcoin treasury. So it's essentially at 934 Bitcoin that they have. That's up from 870. And it represents basically around, let's call it like 90 million some odd dollars that, that they have as part of a small but growing treasury strategy. So that's all by way of saying, I don't want to get all into a lot of numbers, at least not during our update today, but that's all by way of saying that Bitfarms is definitely a little bit of a different story than Stronghold. Not that Stronghold ever struck me as really being in imminent danger of bankruptcy, because remember, when you have an at-the-market mechanism in place, you could always sell shares, generate some cash. The real danger with Stronghold, I always felt, was, dilution. And arguably, I think that's still kind of the risk with Bitfarms. But to be fair, I don't really see any evidence of that dilution being non-accretive to the extent it's going to be taking place, right? Everything Bitfarms is doing right now, including the acquisition of Stronghold Digital Mining, from my perspective, is like a win-win situation for everybody. So to answer the question, no, I'm not concerned about Bitfarms rolling over or declaring bankruptcy or anything like that. Their liquidity position, from my perspective, is quite strong. So let's wrap up today's broadcast with another quote, which I enjoy doing. So this quote is as follows: "You find hope the same way you find happiness. You give it to someone else and borrow a little of it back." And that's by somebody named Robert Brault, whom I've never heard of before. But to the extent Robert Brault said these words, I think they merit some thought. You find hope the same way you find happiness. You give it to someone else and borrow a little bit of it back. So to the extent you're able to give somebody some hope today, perhaps you're able to give somebody a little bit of joy, a little bit of kindness on your part. Hey, you never know. You'll be able to borrow some of that back. Karma may not be real, but it seems to sometimes exist. With all of that said, my friend, let's stay positive, let's be great, and we'll see each other again tomorrow.